In this video, we're going to show you how to replace your oxygen board and sensor. So we're going to start off by removing the sensor itself in the back. You'll be needing a 7/8 open end wrench on that. Okay, you're going to want to start by turning the power off in the back at the main power switch here. From there, you're going to locate your oxygen sensor, which is right here on the plug. So just lift down on this little tab, unplug it, and then using your 7/8 wrench, feed it through the back end of it, and then hook it on there. And then you just give a slight turn to loosen it, and then you can just unthread it that way. One thing to be mindful of though is when you're doing this, if the boiler has been running recently, this temperature can exceed around 600 degrees Fahrenheit. So this probe itself here will be very hot. So just be mindful of that. So you want to start by removing that. That's the sensor itself. And then we'll remove the circuit board. So when your control panel is open, you're going to have two different circuit boards in here. Your top one here will be your oxygen sensing board. And then your bottom here will be your RTD, and that's for sensing water. So on your top board here, we're going to remove the 4 bottom wires and the 5 top wires. In your wiring diagram on the other side of the control, it'll show you the pattern of the wires in case you forget, or you can just take a picture of these to make it a bit easier when you're rewiring it. So then you can just remove these wires out here and then lift all your top wires out. Once your wires are all disconnected, you can just lift up on the circuit board and it'll come off of those plastic tabs. Sometimes the tabs come off with it, but you'll just have to reuse those on your new board. So now to restore it, you take your new oxygen sensor. You're going to want to make sure you have the 4 screws facing downwards, the 5 screws side facing upwards. You'll have those plastic tabs in there, or you'll have the holes for them. One thing that does make it slightly easier is if you connect the wires before you push it in, especially on the top. So on the top of the board, you can refer to this wiring diagram to remember the order the wires should go on. The 2 yellows don't matter which one goes where, as long as they're in spots 1 and 2. Then you have your red, black, then blue on top. So now on the bottom, you can do the same. You're going to have red in the first spot on the bottom side. Yellow next. Then blue. And when you're connecting these, you want to make sure that there's no stray wires that are going to jump to another terminal. That'll give you an incorrect reading or short out the board. So now that you got all the wires in place, you can just go and tuck the wires back in the control there, line them up, and then just lightly push on each one of the corners so it seats back onto those plastic tabs that hold it up. Okay, so to replace the sensor itself, we also use a copper anti-seize on it. So you just want to take it and put a small dab of it along the threads. Be careful not to put it on the sensor itself. It is a coarse surface or a porous surface. From there, we're just going to rethread it to the back of the stove here and where it's located. So you just take it and you thread it in. You just thread it hand tight. And then using your 7/8 wrench again, you just put it on there and just make it just a little snug. Once that's installed, all that's left is just to reconnect your wire plug here. Once you're doing that, just give the wires a good little push on them just to make sure that they're seated properly. So once you reinstall your plug and your sensor, just to do a function test of it before you close the boiler all the way up. So you're just going to want to turn the power back on. Once the control turns on, you're just going to want to scroll down to your furnace status screen where it says idle. It'll be reading 0.1% oxygen for the first up to 5 minutes. So you just want to sit there and wait for it to change in temperature just to make sure everything's reconnected properly. Once it starts reading, it should read anywhere from 20.3 to 20.9 in that range. Once you see that percentage change to that, then you know that the oxygen sensor is heated up and it's reading the correct oxygen. Then you'd be safe to close the control panel again.